Tiana Shoei. I'm an executive, a reader, writer, entrepreneur, athlete, life coach, and energy. This is my podcast, Tiana Shoei Ain't Quite Right. Join us as we laugh, learn, and live big. Hello, everyone. This is Tiana Shoei, and welcome to my podcast, Tiana Shoei Ain't Quite Right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm really excited today because I have a guest. Guess what? That means you don't have to listen to me monologue for this entire episode. You're welcome. And today's guest is somebody I'm really excited about. And we have kind of a fun, cool story about how we met. Social media, actually, but then we didn't realize that we had a mutual connection somewhere in between us. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. Yeah. But I would like to take a minute to introduce my friend, Jeff Gonzell, not Gonzell. Did I get it right?
Yes, you did. You crushed it.
Okay.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, Jeff.
Super grateful to be here.
Well, thank you for joining.
Hi, Tiana. Yeah.
So, Jeff, one of the cool things about having you on the podcast is you are also a podcaster.
Yes. Jeff Talks.
Yes.
And all the like little things, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Yes.
Right. So you're comfortable. We get to dive right in because you know how this works. You do this. You know what it's like sitting behind a microphone and sharing good stuff. So
absolutely. So
Jeff, the way we met was kind of cool. You reached out to me on LinkedIn, I think that's how it started, right? Yeah.
Yes. I think I went straight to your website. And did I contact you directly from there? I don't really remember. It's kind of been quite a while now. But
yeah. It's been a while. Yeah. So you met me on my website or LinkedIn website, either way, we met online. And then we realized that we have a significant person in our life that we have a mutual connection.
That was the best. Yeah. Your cousin is my good friend, Chad, who I've known since, 7th grade. I've known him for like over 20 years. And it just so happens that that's your cousin. Yeah, that was hilarious.
And you know, what's special about Chad is I don't have the typical like removed relationship like you would have with a cousin. With my cousin Chad, we were raised so close together that he's more like a brother than he is like a cousin. And we literally talk every day. Like Chad and I.
That's so cool.
And his brother Sean and my sisters, we have a group chat and we talk all the time. Yeah. So Chad is like a significant part of my daily life. So the fact that you guys are so close and that he's my cousin was kind of this cool connection we discovered we had after we started working together.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely hilarious. I think I remember talking to Chad about you. So I feel like there was a little like subconscious seed that was like planted that like guided me. It's like, oh, Tiana, okay. Oh, she seems like she's kind of doing the same thing I'm doing. Hi, hello. Can we collaborate? Yeah.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head, which is the reason why I wanted to have you on this podcast, because our paths, one of the things I think is really great, and I'm going to slow down just a second before I talk about our paths, is the world is a big place and there's enough room for everybody. Even if we're doing similar things, there's enough room for everyone. And it's kind of like that line in Hamilton where Aaron Burr, realizes in the play that he shouldn't have shot Hamilton, that the world is big enough for the two of them. And so you're right. Our paths cross because we really do have similar desires for how we want to serve people.
Yeah.
And I think some people would see that as competition, but when you really understand how big the world is and how diverse the world is, it's the exact opposite of competition. Right. The more that we give to each other and the more that we build into what we're doing, the greater impact we can have on the world around us. And it's not a you against me, but it's an us together in this together kind of thing. And I think that's where our relationship really, really blossomed, because we recognize that we could build more together than we could apart.
Yeah. I could not agree more. I love that. Yes.
And we're different. We bring a lot of different things to the table, which is why I wanted you to come on this podcast, because you have you have a cool story, first of all, and I want to get into that, but you also have some really cool things that you do. And I'm always like, hey, Jeff, about that thing that you do, teach me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a beautiful thing about diversity, right? Is that everybody brings a little bit of something different to the table. And by bringing it together and making it like a mosaic, like putting it together, you get a better picture. And so I would like, if you don't mind, telling your story, because your story is really powerful. And I think that the audience would love to hear your story because it's real and it's powerful. So I'm going to shut up and let you go.
Okay. Well, I'm taking some time to really just like collect my thoughts. And as David Goggins would say, there's a lot of passion that comes out in his story because he has to go back and literally experience it all in his head. So that's why I'm taking a small moment, and that's why I'm just kind of dialoguing and explaining to y'all what I'm doing. So with that being said, I was born 1985. I'm 35 years old. I was born in, I would say, definitely like a healthy family dynamic. And fast forward like the young childhood kind of stuff to my parents getting divorced. I was raised in a Christian home, Christian family. I went to private Christian school. So definitely very involved in the church. Everyone that I talked to went to church. All their parents went to church.
Right.
And it kind of became a very, very just normal thing for me. Like, this is how everybody thinks.
Right.
This is what is expected from everyone. This is how your life should be. Everything, right? Like the white picket fence, you should get married at this time, you should have kids, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So I remember going through, I went there starting in junior high, so 7th grade all the way to graduating as a senior. And I remember like experiencing this life that then when I graduated and I went out into the real world, it was nothing like it at all. And I felt super caught off guard and totally unprepared. So there are a lot of people in my family that have used alcohol to cope.
Right.
And gosh, like my brother had his own thing in high school. And I actually didn't take my first drink of alcohol like intentionally until I was 23.
Wow.
And yeah. And so I was a late bloomer. I mean, I can tell you the story of like me waking up in the middle of the night, going into the fridge when I was a kid and thinking it was apple juice. It was white wine, but like, I don't really count that. I didn't know what was going on. It was gross. Right. I spit it out. So I remember this very, very specific feeling of my girlfriend just broke up with me. I feel super, super disconnected. And why don't I just try things that like everyone else seems to be doing, which is going out, partying, being social, right?
Right.
And I remember this very intentional thought of like, okay, I'm going to call my buddy Chad. Honestly, Tiana, this is why it's so funny, because I called up Chad and it was like a Friday night and I was like, yo, what are you doing? I think we were graduated from high school for maybe a couple years. Right. Yeah, I was 23. So what are you doing? He's like, yo, like, Jeff, oh my gosh, we're having a kegger. Like, come on over to Don's old house, you know, in Long Beach. A bunch of people are coming over. We're going to play music. We're going to have a great time. And I remember that was the first time that I remember feeling so a part of.
Right.
So like just connected.
Yeah.
And the more you drink, the less you care.
Right. So the more connected you are to everything.
Right.
Right.
So I remember having this, I also like explaining it like this, like a false, an artificial spiritual experience.
There you go. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Is what alcohol gave me. So like the more I numbed, I felt that like this not caring was like, ooh, this is connection.
Yeah.
You know, and I've never felt anything like that. And everyone else seems to not care. And we're just having a hoot of a time.
Right.
So then Fast forward about 10 years later, and I can't stop.
Yeah.
And 2 years before that, I ended up having a brain tumor. They don't know why it was there, but it was like, it was benign, but it was by my cerebellum. Your cerebellum is really involved with like your balance and even nausea, and drinking really, really affects that certain area in the brain.
Let's add some gasoline to the fire. Yeah.
Yeah, go figure. So they don't know if I've always had it. They don't know if I was born with it, whatever. But I remember another moment where I couldn't wait to get out of the hospital so that I could go drink for New Year's. Like that was my goal.
Yeah.
And what's really, I think, started to scare my friends and family was it's like, Jeff, you could go two directions after this moment in life, you know?
Right.
And I didn't change. I just kept doing the same thing that I've been doing because I knew it worked, you know? And in AA, I think they say it's like you keep doing something until it doesn't work.
Right.
So I drank for as long as I could until it stopped working. So then after the brain tumor, the blackouts got worse. The relationships started to just be completely non-existent. The moments that I had like at Chad's house, you know, with like the people, and this is so much fun, turned into me being isolated, sitting by myself at a bar. And even the people that like were at the bar and the bartenders that I knew were like, dude, like, you need to stop. Like, you need to slow down. You've literally been in here for 8 hours. Like, you need to stop. So that's when you really kind of start to question yourself, is when the people that are serving you alcohol and the people that are in there doing the same exact thing are like, bro, you need to chill.
That's a sign. Yeah.
DUI, hit and run, lost my car, like all the war story things I don't really want to get into because I don't really think it's that irrelevant. But my last drink was on May 15th, 2017. It was a Sunday. It was a Mother's Day. I was already drinking for this day 3, and I was falling over into the street because I was so drunk. It was like noon. Yeah. I was all by myself. One of my friends tried to come pick me up from the bar and take me home, tried to like save me. I ended up walking back to the bar, and this is me now walking back home. Somebody called the cops. Cops picked me up, take me to my mom's house on Mother's Day. Wow. And my mom's like, what did he do? And the officer's like, oh, you had 7 too many, you know?
Yeah.
And this was another really distinct moment where I was able to, like, almost when I would looked at my mom and the emotion behind her voice, behind just her face. Yeah. I was finally able to see what I was feeling. Yeah. And that was it. Like, it was just one of these crazy moments where I saw what I was feeling, and it was disgust. It was guilt. It was shame. It was this insufficient, just unworthiness of even living. And I'm just like, what the hell am I doing? Right. What is going on? Yeah. This is not working anymore. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And that was a little, like, glimpse, a little pause, a little moment where I truly feel that God was able to finally get in there through this sliver of a crack, right? Just like, oh, I got my moment. And he goes for it. That, or I was finally able to, like, be open enough to allowing God in. Yeah. And then God started to do his work. So I got on the phone to rehabs. I reached out and I asked for help. And like 3 days later, I was on a plane out to Pennsylvania.
Wow.
People don't like leave California to go get sober
Right.
just to like fill people in. People come to Cali to get sober because our like treatment centers are like super lush and just awesome.
Right.
No, I left California to go to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. One of like I'm never gonna not love that place because
Right.
it literally changed my life, and I found a new relationship with God. Right. So I went to rehab 22 days. For the first time, I felt like I was probably sober long enough to like, when somebody asked me, hey, Jeff, how are you? I look at him like, what? Like, whoa, that actually felt genuine.
Right.
I think this person is being like real. He genuinely, or she genuinely wants to know how I'm doing.
Yeah.
I think I'm good. I just traveled, 3,000 miles. I have no idea how to like live. I'm 30 years old. I don't know what I'm doing. So rehab. And then they asked me if I wanted to go home. And I said, what do you think I should do? Because I don't know, clearly. And they said sober living. So I said, okay. So then I did sober living out there I was out there for a total of almost 2 years, like a year and 10 months. So then I did sober living, and I thought I was only going to be there for, 3 to 6 months tops.
Right.
I was there over a year. I ended up having an amazing opportunity to start managing the house. So that in itself was an absolutely incredible experience. And I'm grateful for it because it helped me grow even like with a deeper understanding of God and of myself and what service work is really all about. Service work sucks, dude. Like, especially, I found this out the hard way, right? So like in the beginning of the week, I'd be like, oh, I love everyone. I just want to serve. And like, I know this is what God wants me to do. But then at the end of the week, I hate everyone and I hate myself. And I'm just like, what the heck is going on?
Right.
So then I reached out. I was like, call my sponsor, Nick. I was like, yo, Nick, like, dude, like this isn't working. This, being a service thing, it's not working, bro. Like, I feel worse afterwards. I hate them. I'm actually getting a resentment. Right.
Right.
So then he's like, well, what's your motive? What is your intention? Are you giving to get something back, or are you giving to give? And if you're giving to get something back, I would question if you actually even have anything to offer. And I was like, oh,
truth bomb.
Oh,
yeah.
Hate you too right now, Nick. Like,
Right.
Oh my God. Like, okay. So then again, another amazing opportunity to like go back to my step work.
Yeah.
To like clean up my side of the street. Am I resentful towards anyone? Give it to, what do they say? Give it to God, admit it to yourself, admit it to God, and then admit it to someone else. Yeah. So like, okay. And just learning how to sit and just be with all of those emotions and tying that into like, instead of drinking to cope, learning how to navigate through all these emotions and feelings that we were born with to literally help us and allow us to feel more connected to those all around us.
Right.
So these things that I thought were like curses, right? Like, no, get rid of this. And society, especially as men, it's like, get rid of these. You're not supposed to feel, you got to be strong. That when you actually show vulnerability and emotion, that's weakness.
Yeah.
No, dude, the hardest thing that, in my opinion, that one can ever do is actually be vulnerable and have the courage to feel all the feelings without coping with any types of drugs, alcohol, sex, pursuit of money, like anything like that. And not to say that stuff's wrong, right? Because I don't believe that anymore. Stuff's not wrong, but too much alcohol is going to disconnect me from who I am and from others. So, so that was an incredible experience. And then having this moment when I was sitting in an AA meeting that was, Jeff, what if you went back to Cali and did the same thing that you're doing right now?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. All right. It's a thought, right?
Yeah.
And then the thought comes back, and then the thought comes back. And then it's like, I think I'm going to start taking action on this thought. So I started to look for like, I was already working in the rehab that I actually went to. So that was a super rad experience, being able to like literally go to these amazing human beings and being like, I've literally been in your shoes. I've literally gone through this program, and I've been sober over a year, and just so full of like joy and happiness. So I took that experience. I applied for like 70 something jobs. I didn't get any. I would get like guys would and gals would tell me like, here's my number. Call me when you actually make the decision and the commitment to move back here.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I'm like, okay. Fine.
Right.
So after talking, so another little trick that I do now is before you make a big decision, talk to at least 3 people that you respect, that you look up to, and get their thoughts, get their opinions, suggestions, and bounce these big decisions off of 3 different people.
Right. The Bible says there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors. Yep.
Really?
Proverbs.
Okay. Really? Oh my gosh. You know, it's so funny that you say that, because I think when I was in this like decision making to move back, I think my mom actually quoted that.
Yeah.
I literally think she did. So I was like, okay, so I got to talk to a few more people. But then taking those, what was really frustrating, honestly, Tiana, was every single person that I talked to, they took the decision and they put it right back at me.
What? You mean you had to actually start making grown-up decisions?
Oh, it was so frustrating, because I'm like, no, just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
Right? But that's the easy way.
Right.
Sitting down again, meditating, prayer, quieting my mind to listen to God and to like feel where my heart is being pulled.
Yeah.
That's actually hard.
Yeah.
So I made the leap. I put in my 2 weeks. I traveled, took me 4 days to go across country in the winter. I took the northern route, and driving through Montana and like South Dakota or North Dakota in the winter, it's like negative 30 something.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever do it again. But oh my gosh, I felt so alive.
Yeah.
Like I never had a moment of like doubt.
Yeah.
I never had a moment or a feeling of like this was the wrong thing. Never. And I was in the car with myself for a long time. Like the longest one was like, I think Chicago, Illinois to Billings, Montana.
Wow.
It was a long drive.
Yeah,
and it was like 17 something hours by myself in my little Honda Civic, in winter. But I never have felt like so connected. And that was God.
Yeah.
I hands down, like that was God. And I was actually living my purpose.
Yeah.
And I was fulfilling what God was pulling at my heart to do.
Right.
So I get home, I ended up finding a job in like a week, back in treatment. And I worked there for maybe 7 months. I ended up leaving because I found out that actually the rehab and treatment industry is actually pretty corrupt. Yeah. There's a lot of places out there that it's more business focused than the human being focused, and what's best for the human being. Like, oh no, we got to put that to the side and we can only focus on what we can bill the insurance. So I'm just like, so I moved on, got another job, worked there for 2 weeks before it actually shut down.
Oh no.
And then, I don't know if I told you this story, and then I went to another place and I had a gut feeling, and I was like, wow, like I've felt this feeling before, and it was saying to quit, to move on. And I quit. I was there for like 2 weeks. And then that last shift that I worked, I actually found out that they were buying clients. So they would give the client a cut of whatever the insurance money that they would be able to bill as long as the client finished the program.
Wow.
They'd give them like cash.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, like that's the last thing you want to do is give like someone that struggles in substance abuse or even mental health, like here's some cash.
Right.
What do you think they're going to go do with it? They're just going to go through the system again.
Right. You just keep continual patience. Yeah.
Right. So it was frustrating, and that was really hard. But luckily I had a backup plan. I went and drilled for 5 years before I got sober. So then I actually called up a buddy, and there was an opening at the same job I worked at. I was able to, God is absolutely amazing. Like the opportunities that he gives you to go back and clean up your side of the street and like remend and re-heal that harm that you caused. Cause I didn't leave the company on good terms. Like, I mean, I didn't get fired, but like, I literally called my boss, like, I'm going to rehab.
Right. Yeah.
Bye. And this was after I used the company credit card for like a hotel, and like I did that a couple of times, but just being able to go back and kind of make right that wrong. Yeah. So then I worked there for 6 months. I had this idea that, oh my gosh, I want to be like a coach.
Yeah.
So then I reached out to a friend, and she sent me a couple places that were doing stuff like that, and talked to this guy for 20 minutes. And then he asked if I'd be interested in coming in for an interview. And so now I'm working there, and we've talked about this before. Like, I'm getting paid to literally learn what I want to do as a coach. Yeah. Like as a breathing coach, I have like, they're doing all the marketing. So they like just give me the clients, and I coordinate with other coworkers that are also on the case that have been doing it. Yeah. So I learn from them. I pick their brains. I literally feel like I'm getting paid to now learn this craft. And then, started my podcast in March. And
so it's been a year. Congratulations.
Yeah. It's been a year now.
Yeah. Look at you. Very few people make it that far in podcasting. So congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you. It's been an absolute ride. I am so incredibly grateful. I've met you. Like, we're collaborating, we're talking.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute ride, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for pain. I've said this, I think to you before. I'm super grateful for pain, because without pain, I would never have changed.
Right. There is no growth in the comfort zone.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. 100%. But then now it's like, life's pretty good.
Yeah. Well,
life's good.
And what I love about your story, Jeff, is you took what you went through, because you're working with substance abuse clients. You're working with a broad variety of clients now in your current role. Mm-hmm. You took what you went through and you used it as an opportunity to help other people who had walked down your path. And I think the reason that that's so beautiful is in our society today, because we've got this mindset that comes from the entertainment industry, which I think is just a dirty, awful mindset, that perfect people are the only people who have a role in society. Like, if you have any sort of scars in your past, then you're an outcast and you're not worthy. And so we spend so much time covering up and hiding where we come from, when the reality is more people are struggling with everyday things, substance abuse, like in my case, being a corporate recovering from corporate mindset, being a battered woman. I'm a former battered woman. As you know, we've talked about these things. Yeah. And more people are like us, have something that has derailed them or hurt them or sidetracked them from what they ultimately want to be. And you can't be inspired by somebody who's never made a mistake.
Oh my God, I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that. Yeah.
And so we're not glorifying our mistakes of our past, right? We're not looking and saying, oh, these were great things, but rather than hiding them from the world, and rather than pretending like it isn't a part of our story, by opening up, being authentic, being genuine, telling the world, I know what it is to be broken, you actually help inspire more people. And I think that we kind of get that backwards in society. Like we're afraid to tell our story because we're like, somebody's going to judge me and not like me. But the reality is we're more likely to reach the people who need to hear our story if we're honest about our story.
I totally agree. I think it has to do with like mirroring.
Yeah.
Almost like people want to like, it's more powerful in my experience when you look at someone and it's like a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
So empathy, right? Relatability, connection. It's like, oh, you're actually a real person.
Yeah.
And you've struggled. But then now look at what you're doing. Look at who you are. Look at how you're practicing. Look at how you're living. Look at your relationships.
Yeah.
So I think that's in the Bible too. Like, judge a man by his fruit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You will know a tree by its fruit. And it's talking about the character that comes out of them. Yeah, no, you're 100% right about that. And here, here's the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Our mind is our biggest enemy, right? We get stuck in our mindsets, freeing ourselves from our own mindsets is a thing. And here's one of the stories I love that demonstrates that. It was believed that a human being could not run a mile in under 4 minutes until somebody actually ran a mile in under 4 minutes. And then shortly after that mile, the 4 minute mile was broken, multiple people ran a mile in under 4 minutes. Mm-hmm. And the same is true for getting, changing your life. So many of us think this is just how life has to be. This is just what I'm going to come home from work and I'm going to have that drink. And that's just what my life's going to be. Or I'm going to be in debt up to my eyeballs for the rest of my life. And that's just how life has to be. Or I just have to accept these things. And that's the same thing as saying a human can't run a mile in under 4 minutes. And then when somebody shows you it can be done, then you know that you now have, like you said, that mirror, you have that ability to then move yourself out of that. And I think that's where you and I have connected really well, is because we both say we have things in our past we're not proud of. We have things in our past that we would not wish on anybody, but they're realities for a lot of human beings. So let me show you the way out.
Yes. That story, I think they use it in AA where it's like an alcoholic is in a hole.
Yeah.
And a friend walks by and it's like, hey, can you help me get out of this hole? And he gives him some food.
Yeah.
A priest walks by. Hey, can you help me get out of this hole? He says a prayer.
Yeah.
Peace be with you. And then another alcoholic walks by and he says, hey, can you help me get out of this hole? And the alcoholic jumps in the hole with him. He's like, what the heck are you doing? Now we're both stuck in this hole. He's like, yeah, but I've been here. Now let me show you how I got out.
Right.
Oh, I love that story.
That is a great story. And that's exactly, I think, the heart behind, why both of us do what we do, why we do our podcasts, and you've got a YouTube channel. And so I love it. So thank you for being honest. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story and reminding the world that if you have an addiction of some sort, and being a battered woman, I was a codependent person. So I had a people-pleasing addiction. Whatever that addiction looks like, there is freedom on the other side of addiction. You can actually live a life where you are the CEO of your life and your addictions and your desires are not the CEO of your life. You can flip that script. It's 110% possible, right, Jeff?
100%. Absolutely. You are the hero in your own story.
Exactly.
Yeah. You can write whatever you want. Right.
Yeah. So the other thing that you do that I find really fascinating is breathing coaching. And, it's funny because I was coaching somebody. We were having a conversation and this person was remarking to me, I have such visceral reactions to emotional things, like be it in a meeting or, their kid says something to them that just rubs them the wrong way or whatever it is. Yeah. And this person was describing to me just like this tense. And what we don't realize we do when we're stressed out or when we're in a situation we don't like is we cave in and we start shallow breathing and we're actually exacerbating the issue. And so what I've learned from you in our conversations is that by practicing better breathing techniques, there's a ton of health benefits that come along with it. But one of those is you can almost instantly flip the script on a stressful situation by just becoming aware of your breath. So go into that a little bit, if you don't mind, talking about breathing coaching, what got you into it. And maybe when you get done, you could walk us through a quick breathing exercise.
Okay.
Nothing like putting you on the spot.
No, it's funny because I was actually I think she might ask me to do a little something. So I already have one in mind. So yeah,
Yay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
So breath, the Greek word for breath is spirit. So could be deciphered as like using our breath to connect with our spirit.
And I hate to interrupt you, but I want to pause you really quickly, because if you read the book of Genesis, and I did not know that the Greek word for breath was spirit. If you read the book of Genesis and you read how God created man, it says God took the dust of the earth and he formed mankind, and then he breathed into man to create life. And so it was actually God's breath that brought man to life. Right. So that's really amazing, because when you look at that in the bigger picture, you see that God used breath to put his spirit and literally cause Adam to go from being just a pile of bones and dust to a living being. So that's fascinating. Keep going.
Yeah. So I'll steal from Jay Shetty. He, in his experience when he was training to be a monk, one of the lead monks there was like, what's the first thing that you, the first thing that they teach you at monk school is actually how to breathe. So there's like little 3 and 5-year-old kids learning how to breathe. And Jay Shetty's like, what? And he said to Jay Shetty, the first thing that you take when you enter this world is a breath. The last thing that you take when you leave this world is a breath. Yeah. So if you can learn to control and become aware of your breath, you can then learn how to thrive and navigate through every single emotional experience in life.
Yeah,
so
that's profound.
So that's something that I found on later. It actually started because, like, if I'm being completely honest, I was cold living in Pennsylvania during the wintertime. So I was miserable during the winter. So that's kind of where it all started. And then I looked into like, how can I be more comfortable in the cold? So then I was introduced to Wim Hof, and I started like hyperventilating breathing. And the difference, what I've learned from hyperventilating breathing, so breathing hard, breathing fast, more than likely through your mouth, is it's a stressor. So it actually stresses our body. And you can get different results. And Wim Hof's approach is more like, let's stress the body with like the cold therapy and with the breathing, so then you can actually allow the body to then come down. But what if your body is constantly in a place of stress all the time? Anxiety, like what if we're constantly in fight or flight? You know, if we don't send an email, it's like a saber-toothed tiger is coming to attack us. Like our body and our mind, they don't know the difference. All we see is survival. So then the more I kind of looked into it, I stumbled upon Patrick McCown, who is from Ireland, and his course that I did, the functional breathing course from his company, The Oxygen Advantage. He has a book out. He's on YouTube. Absolutely fascinating. His work is aligned more with the Buteyko method, which is all nose breathing. And he talks about the science of like why we even have a nose, that we actually are supposed to be breathing through our nose. Our mouth is for talking and for eating.
Right.
That's it. Our mouth is not designed to breathe. So diving into that science and then realizing that like, oh my gosh. So me working with mental health and substance abuse, 9 times out of 10, everyone's in fight or flight.
Yes.
You know, even like crazy high performance athletes, they could actually get a little bit more edge if they just trained their body to breathe through their nose, to be able to do more with less, right? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's funny you say that, because one of the most elite ultra runners, and that's something that we didn't touch on. I met you as you were getting ready to do your first ultra marathon, and you didn't realize that I was an experienced ultra marathoner. But Scott Jurek, who's one of the most elite ultra marathoners, he won Western States, I believe, 7 times. That's a 100-mile race in California. In his book, Born to Run, sorry, no, not Born to Run. It's Eat and Run, I believe it is. I can't remember the title exactly, but it's Scott Jurek's book. He talks about that. The way that he learned to run and become an elite runner was that his running coach taught him, breathe through your nose. And I, as somebody who's always struggled with like allergies and a stuffed nose, which I finally figured out was a dairy. I was allergic to dairy and had an unhealthy gut. And so when you have an unhealthy gut, you're going to have seasonal allergies. I've literally cured seasonal allergies by dealing with my microbiome. And so that's what prevented me from breathing properly. But I was like, who can breathe through their nose? Because I was always, trying to get a little bit of oxygen through a little hole. But it's fascinating that you say that, because Scott Jurek actually talked about that. And it's hard to argue with his results. So anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but keep going.
No, that's absolutely. I think I actually had a client who was like, "Oh, you're trained to be a runner. Like, oh, you should check out that book that you just suggested." I was like, "Oh, okay." So now there's 2 people in my life that have suggested it. So I should probably read it.
It's a good book.
So then I've always been very athletic. I've always been into surfing, snowboarding, playing volleyball, running, playing hockey, playing football. I've always been very connected with my body, but I've just never been able to connect my head and my body. Right. So I feel like, especially in my experience, it literally helped me in my recovery, and it helps me with my mental health. So learning how to use my body to heal my mind is such an incredibly empowering tool. And I think that's what I love about it the best. It's like with the breath, I have it literally everywhere. I cannot get away from my breath. I can't pick it up and put it down. I'm breathing, I forget the number, but it's like however many thousands, if not tens of thousands of breaths that you take every day. You only eat a certain amount of times a day, right? And then you can only work out a certain amount of times a day. So if I'm feeling stressed, it's not like I can just drop everything and go for a run.
Right.
You got to kind of make a little plan, around working out.
Right.
And same with your meals. You got to meal prep, or it's like you got to do other things to eat healthy. Your breath is literally everywhere. So I thought, what an amazing tool. If I could really learn how to practice it for myself. It started out just for me. Yeah. I want to be the best I can be. So how can I run longer? How can I be able to not always feel breathless? How can I use my breath to then cope with emotions? Even alcohol wasn't always there for me. I had to go through work to sometimes get alcohol, right? Taking loans out and just being anyways. But my breath, it's free and it's always with me. So just doing a couple of these really, now it's just fun techniques. And it's almost haha, I'm feeling stressed. I'm just going to breathe and chill out. And it works. And I think that's why I wanted to become a functional breathing instructor. And I think that's also why I want to just share it with more people. And that's why I'm trying to make YouTube videos for free, because people need to know this.
I want to hit on a couple things you said, because you just said a lot, and there's a couple really profound things you said that I want to hit on, because I want to make sure that we don't miss this. So you said, use the body to heal the mind. And the reason I want to focus on that really quickly is we have an unbelievably sad mindset in this country where we think of depression and anxiety as we think we use that as a diagnosis without understanding that it's actually a symptom. Depression and anxiety are a symptom. They're not a disease. And the way that we go around diagnosing people in this country, we've now created this mindset that it's normal to have depression and anxiety. No, they are a symptom of something else. And sometimes it's a symptom of a chemical imbalance, but many times it's a symptom of diet, exercise, nutrition, sleep, environmental factors, breathing. And by not recognizing that your body is exhibiting signs of anxiety because it's telling you something is wrong. That's why you feel anxious. Your body is saying to you, something is wrong. It's the check engine light on your dashboard. And when we reduce it down to a diagnosis rather than a symptom, it's like putting a piece of tape over that check engine light and saying, okay, I just don't want to see it anymore. I want to mask it. So that was a really profound statement that you made. And I wanted to take a minute to say that, because in the cases where it's not a chemical imbalance, where it's something that can be cured by diet, exercise, sleep, taking care of your body, breath is a huge part of that healing process when you use your body to heal your mind. So I really liked that you said that. Now, there was something else I wanted to comment on. Look at me. I got all sidetracked. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to say. I try to tell my audience, and I think this will resonate with you. I don't do this for any reason other than when you go on your own personal journey, which is what you did and what I did. I went on my own personal journey to say, this is not working for me anymore. And I've got to figure out what is going to work for me. When you start reading the books and getting connected to the right people and learning and going on this journey, when you realize how simple it is, not easy, but simple, right? Like we've both had to make really difficult changes in our life. You want to tell everybody about it because you're like, look, I know what it's like where you've been. Let me show you where I'm going. And you really don't want anything in return for it because you recognize that these small, simple things you feel like you almost got for free. We really didn't get them for free. We had to pay a lot of money. We had to work hard. We had to put in the hours, but you almost feel like you were giving them for free, right? Like it almost
100%.
feels like, like, how did I get this? You do want to give it away. There's just a part of you that genuinely wants to give it away. And I feel like some of the resistance I get from people when we go through this, kind of conversation is, what are you trying to sell me? There's almost this like, what is your motive? And I think what you said is really powerful. And I want to highlight this before I ask you to do a breathing exercise with us, is our motive is simple. When you have been healed of something, when you've seen the light, when you've come through the other side, when you have a new life, new hope, you genuinely just want to share it with people because you know that the more people that live like this, that get these concepts and implement them in their lives, the better the world is going to be. Like it comes from a genuine place of wanting to give. And I think it's hard to understand unless you've been on that journey. So I think if anybody's listening and you're skeptical, like, why are these people doing this? What are they trying to get from me? Here's what I ask. And Jeff, we've had this conversation. The only thing I ask from you is that you take this and teach other people.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make teachers, not students. So, and I think that's what you were getting at with your free YouTube channel. And
yeah, no, 100%. And then I would ask, what's holding you back? What is the barrier that you're trying to create?
Yeah.
For yourself.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Side note, I actually did some breathing a while ago and I had a really awesome emotional release. I don't know if I shared this with you, but I cried and I cried and I cried. And it was after a breakup. So using the breath to really let out those emotions. And after that experience, I was just like, I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
The energy's out. I released it.
Yeah. So. We don't realize how much we hold on to in our bodies. Like our shoulders, we're really good at tuning out our bodies when they're telling us something's not right. And so, we don't realize how much we hunker and we hold stuff in until you literally just can't anymore. And I've known a lot of people in their lives who have literally just collapsed because they had done such a good job tuning out what their body was telling them or masking it with drugs and even prescription drugs. I mean, listen, I love medical doctors. My last guest was a medical doctor. I think they're great, but it's not their job to make you healthy. It's your job to make you healthy.
Yes. Medication is a tool.
Exactly.
It's not a solution.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Jeff, this has been a great conversation. So is it too much for me to put you on the spot and ask you to walk us through just a quick breathing exercise that listeners could take and put in their tool chest? And in those moments in time when we find ourselves just in a place where it's good to reconnect. Yeah. I guess if you're only listening to the podcast, you missed my lovely face I just made.
That was great. Yes, I would love to. And it'll be short and sweet. No more than 5 minutes. Do we have enough time?
Yeah, let's do it. We got it.
Okay. So this one is specifically for if you are going through an anxiety attack, you're going through some stress, and you have a moment, you got to get up from your desk, go to the bathroom. You just need a moment. So it's super short, super sweet. We are only breathing through our nose. Okay. So we will breathe in for a 4 count. We will hold for a 4 count. We will exhale for an 8 count.
Ooh.
And then we'll hold for a 4 count. So you're definitely most likely going to feel this sensation of air hunger. You really want to relax into that feeling of air hunger the best you can. If you can't keep up with the cadence, it's all good. You can, obviously, you don't have to follow along exactly. But
right, you can build into it, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to try to do the breath work while explaining it to y'all. So
all right, I'm going to join you.
Okay, awesome. So we'll breathe in through our nose for 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe normally.
Wow. Wow. First of all, don't do that
I get
if you're
hot.
driving. Yeah. Don't do that if you're driving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Operating heavy machinery.
Yeah.
No go.
But it's amazing because I didn't think like, breathing in for 4 is going to be a big deal. But if you're a shallow breather, like breathing in for 4 takes some practice and exercise. Wow.
Yes,
and you can you actually have to feel to do that.
Yeah. It activates when you breathe through your nose, you activate your diaphragm. The calming receptors are actually in the bottom of our lungs. So if we're breathing shallow, our body literally can't relax. We can't get into our parasympathetic nervous system. But when we breathe deep into the bottom lower lobes of our lungs, the calming receptors are down there. So then it's like our body's like, okay, we're good. We're safe. We can relax. We can calm down. So even doing a little breathing exercise like that before you eat to calm your body down and get into the parasympathetic, you actually will digest your food better.
That's amazing because, because
even sleep better.
Yeah. No, that's great, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. That's a great exercise. And that's something we can remember and practice anytime. And, you said something really profound about, our fight or flight mode. And I think this is something, and I actually had this conversation with a coaching client of mine this week. I think this is something that we don't really think about in our society. And that is that we have programming, our neural anatomy and physiology, as well as our psychology, is still very much our ancestral brain. So in other words, we have computer programming and computer software and hardware from our hunter-gatherer days, but we're living in modern society. And part of the reason why we're so stressed out and we're looking to drugs, alcohol, sex, TV, all these things to satisfy ourselves is because we haven't yet come to terms with ourselves as humans and said, okay, my programming doesn't work for my current environment. Our environment has evolved faster than our neuroscience, our psychology, and our anatomy. And so one of the most powerful things that I'm able to help my coaching clients with is help them to recognize those fears that you have, that anxiety that you have, all of those things are actually your fight or flight mode, which was what kept you alive when you were running from,
a saber-tooth tiger.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
That was how we survived. We carry a lot of that fight or flight into situations where it's not a fight or flight for us. Right. And so learning how to override our natural programming and reprogram it with the truth and the current circumstances we live in is huge. And like you said, and I didn't know that about the lungs, breathing deep into our lungs actually helps us reprogram our bodies to say, we're not in fight or flight. The guy on the road who cut you off is not trying to eat you. Right. He's just an idiot. Okay.
Right.
When that coworker does that thing that upsets you, they're not gonna, kill you. It's not the end of your life. It's just a bad day. And I think we live in fight or flight mode and we don't even know it. We're oblivious to the fact that we're just responding to outdated programming.
Right. We don't know the difference. I think I touched on this before. We don't know the difference between running from a saber-tooth tiger and sending an email.
Yeah.
There's no difference. Our body has that same reaction. So then we start hyperventilating, we start freaking out. Yes. And then I have all these problems and I got to go to the doctor and da. But actually you're just operating in a sympathetic nervous system in fight or flight way too long. And you're not allowing yourself to come down.
No, you know what? That's awesome. Jeff, I can't thank you enough for joining. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast today. I really appreciate it. It's been a wonderful journey getting to know you and seeing how our paths crossed and everything that you're out in the world doing to make the world a better place. So thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for coming on and doing that breathing exercise with us. And I appreciate what you're doing out there in Southern California. Being Chad, the reason my cousin is because I'm from Southern California. So I hate you a little bit because of the weather, but I'll take my backcountry roads and my cheap taxes here.
Yeah, I'll take that too. Maybe in the future I'll be going out that way. But thank you so much, Tiana. This was an absolute just blessing. Thank you for doing what you do. Yeah.
Hey, listen, we're all in this together, right?
Yes, 100%. We are better together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you want to go far, go alone. Or excuse me, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Ooh. Mic drop with Tiana. Love it.
Thank you, Jeff. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend. Go do some surfing.
Yes.
Until next time. And everyone, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to Tiana Shoei Ain't Quite Right. Hey, listen, we're on a journey together. So if you have friends or family that would like to join us on this journey of just let's figure life out together. Let's laugh, learn, and live big. Then please be sure to tell other people about it. Leave a review, share, this information. And that reminds me, Jeff, I should have asked you, where can people find you? Where can people find your podcast?
My website, I guess, probably be the one-stop shop for all the stuff. It's jeffgonzell.com. That's JEFFGONZELL.com. And you can find all the resources on there.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, look up Jeff. He's got some great breathing videos up there and his YouTube channel and his podcast. Great thing to tune into and tell other people, because word of mouth is really, listen, I only listen to podcasts because somebody tells me you should listen to this. This is great. I've never stumbled on a great podcast. I've always had somebody stumble on it for me. Right. It's like, okay. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, this has been Tiana Shoei Ain't Quite Right. Thank you for tuning in. New episodes are released on the second and fourth Monday of every month. If you like this content, please subscribe, leave a review, and tell anyone else you think that will enjoy joining us on this journey to tune in. Until next time.